She collapsed on the sidewalk, paintings scattered around her like fallen dreams. A stranger caught her before she hit the ground, his expensive coat torn, his hands scarred, his eyes carrying the weight of a mafia boss running from betrayal. What she didn't know, the man who saved her life was running from his own, and she'd just become his only reason to stop. The painting wasn't selling. Eva Martinez stared at the canvas propped against the brick wall of Sullivan's hardware store, watching strangers pass without a second glance. The sunset she'd painted, all oranges and purples bleeding into each other like a bruise healing backward, deserved better than this. But then again, so did she. $20, she called out to a woman in a business suit. Her voice came out thin, reedy. Original art. Hand-painted. The woman didn't even slow down. Eva adjusted the knitted cap covering her bald head and pulled her jacket tighter. November in Chicago had teeth, and today they were biting hard. The Wednesday evening crowd flowed around her like water around a stone. Commuters heading home, teenagers clustered outside the pizza place, an old man feeding pigeons by the fountain. None of them looked at the sick woman selling paintings. She'd set up at 4 o'clock. It was now past 7, and she'd sold exactly nothing. The rent was due Friday. Chemo was scheduled for Monday, and her bank account had $43 in it. Eva closed her eyes and did the math she'd been avoiding all day. Even if she sold every painting at her apartment, all 15 of them, she'd still be $800 short. The hospital had already warned her. One more missed payment, and they'd drop her from the treatment program. Just keep painting, her mother used to say. Art heals the soul, even when medicine can't heal the body. Yeah, well, the soul doesn't pay bills, Mama, Eva whispered. She bent to pick up another canvas, a street scene full of colorful umbrellas and rain-slicked cobblestones, and the world tilted sideways. Her vision blurred. The painting slipped from her fingers. No. Not here. Not now. But her body had other plans. Her knees buckled. The sidewalk rushed up to meet her face, and Eva thought, with crystal clarity, this is how I die. Alone on State Street with unsold paintings. Then someone caught her. Strong hands gripped her shoulders, steadying her before she could hit the concrete. Eva blinked, trying to focus. A man's face came into view. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes that had seen too much. He was maybe 40, dressed in an expensive black coat that was torn at the shoulder and stained with something that looked disturbingly like blood. Easy, he said. His voice was rough, like gravel underfoot. I've got you. I'm fine, Eva lied, even as her legs refused to support her weight. Just tired. You're not fine, he looked around quickly, his gaze sharp and searching, like a man expecting trouble. When did you last eat? I don't need. That wasn't the question. Eva tried to pull away, but her body betrayed her. A wave of nausea rolled through her stomach. Black spots danced at the edges of her vision. Yesterday, she admitted. Maybe. The man swore under his breath. He glanced over his shoulder again, and Eva noticed something else. The tension in his jaw, the way he positioned himself to keep the street corner in view, the barely concealed wince when he moved his left side. He was hurt, and he was scared. Listen, he said, his voice dropping lower. I need to get off this street. You need to not die on this sidewalk. Help me and I'll help you. Deal? Eva should have said no. Should have told him to leave her alone. Should have at least asked his name before agreeing to anything. But the world was spinning, and she was so tired of being alone, and something about his eyes, desperate but honest, made her nod. Deal. He gathered her paintings with quick, efficient movements, tucking them under one arm while supporting her with the other. Where do you live? Above. Above Moretti's bakery. 3 blocks north. Can you walk? I can try. They moved through the crowd like ghosts, her leaning heavily on his arm, him scanning every face they passed. Eva noticed things through her haze. The way he steered them away from a group of men in dark suits, how he kept his right hand free and close to his coat, the quiet calculation in every step. This man was running from something. Or someone. What's your name? Eva asked as they turned onto a quieter side street. He hesitated.
Dominic. I'm Eva.
I know, he nodded toward the small signature on the corner of the canvas under his arm. You sign your paintings. Despite everything, the exhaustion, the fear, the absurdity of letting a bleeding stranger escort her home, Eva almost smiled. You looked at my art. I was looking at everything on that corner, Dominic said. Your paintings just happened to be the most interesting thing there. They reached Moretti's bakery, its windows dark for the evening. Eva fumbled for her keys, dropped them, and watched helplessly as Dominic picked them up and unlocked the door himself. The narrow staircase stretched up into darkness. Second floor, she whispered. Dominic helped her up the stairs, moving carefully, breathing hard. Whatever injury he was nursing clearly hurt more than he let on. At the top, Eva's door stood slightly ajar. She froze. I locked it. I always lock it. Dominic pushed her behind him and drew a gun from his coat in one smooth motion. Eva's blood went cold. What have I done? He nudged the door open with his foot, the weapon raised and steady. After a long moment, he lowered it slightly. Ransacked. They were looking for something, he turned to her, his expression grim. Or, they were looking for someone and found you instead. Eva pushed past him into her apartment. Her paintings, her beautiful, bright paintings, lay scattered across the floor, some torn, some trampled. Her mattress had been flipped. Her few dishes lay shattered. She sank to her knees among the wreckage of her life. I'm sorry, Dominic said quietly. This is my fault. They must have followed me. Eva picked up a torn canvas, a field of sunflowers she'd painted during her last good week. The flowers' heads were severed by a boot print. She looked up at the dangerous stranger with the gun in her hand. Who are you? She asked. And who's trying to kill you? Dominic met her eyes, and something passed between them. Recognition, maybe, or shared exhaustion. Two people who'd reached the end of something. My name is Dominic Caruso, he said. And I'm a dead man walking. Eva stared at the gun in Dominic's hand, then at the ruins of her apartment, then back at him. A normal person would scream. Call the police. Run. But Eva Martinez hadn't been normal since the day Dr. Patel had said the word, Stage 3. Put that away, she said, gesturing at the weapon. You're dripping blood on my floor. Dominic blinked. Did you hear what I just? Dominic Caruso. Dead man walking. Yes, I heard. Eva pulled herself up using the wall, her legs still shaky. But right now, you're bleeding in my apartment, and I'm too tired to care about anything except sitting down. She stepped over a broken picture frame. Her mother's face smiled up from the shattered glass and made her way to the kitchen. The small space had escaped most of the destruction. Her kettle still sat on the stove. Her two mismatched mugs hung on their hooks. Sit, she commanded, pointing at the wooden chair by the window. We should leave. If they came here once. They already ransacked the place. What else is there to take? Eva filled the kettle with trembling hands. Besides, I can't go anywhere. I can barely stand. Dominic holstered his gun and lowered himself carefully into the chair. In the light from the street lamp outside, Eva could see him clearly now. Mid-40s, she guessed. Handsome in a hard way, like something carved from stone and left out in the weather too long. The tear in his coat revealed a blood-soaked shirt underneath. Take off your coat, Eva said. I don't think. You're my home. I'm making the rules. She pulled a clean dish towel from the drawer. Coat. Now. He obeyed, wincing as he shrugged out of the expensive fabric. His white shirt underneath was ruined, dark with blood on the left side. Eva approached him, her fear replaced by something else, the same calm that came over her when she painted, when her hands knew what to do even if her mind didn't. Lift your shirt. Dominic did. A nasty gash ran along his ribs, the edges ragged. Knife, he explained. 3 hours ago. Downtown. You need stitches. Can't go to a hospital. They'll be watching every emergency room in the city. Eva pressed the towel against the wound, applying pressure. Dominic inhaled sharply, but didn't pull away. Who's they? People you don't want to know about. I'm holding a bloody towel against a mobster's ribs in my destroyed apartment, Eva said flatly. I think we're past the point of me not knowing. The kettle whistled. Eva kept pressure on his wound with one hand and poured hot water with the other, a ridiculous balancing act that would have made her laugh if she had the energy. She handed him the steaming mug.
Chamomile, she said.
It's all I have. Dominic took it, looking at the cup like it was a foreign object. When did you last eat? He asked again. When did you? Yesterday morning. Eva retrieved a box of crackers from the cupboard, somehow untouched by whoever had torn through her things. She set them on the table between them. They ate in silence, the absurdity of the situation hanging in the air like smoke. Why did you help me? Eva asked finally. On the street. You're running from killers. I'm a stranger. You could have kept walking. Dominic stared into his tea. My sister, he said quietly. She died of leukemia when I was 16. She used to paint too. Watercolors. Always so bright. Even when she got sick, he looked up at Eva's paintings on the walls, the ones that had survived. Your work reminded me of hers. Eva felt something crack open in her chest. I'm sorry. Me too, he set down his mug. The men who did this, they weren't looking for me. They were marking territory, sending a message. They saw you with me, and now you're connected. That makes you a target. Then why are you still here? Because I owe you. Dominic stood slowly, testing his side. The bleeding had slowed. And because if I leave now, they'll assume you matter to me. They'll come back. Eva laughed, a bitter, exhausted sound.
I'm dying anyway.
Cancer. Stage 3. Maybe 4 by now. I've missed 2 treatments. She gestured at the scattered paintings. All of this? I was trying to sell enough art to afford one more round of chemo. Stupid, right? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled a money clip from his pocket and counted out bills onto the table.
2,000, he said.
For letting me stay until I figure out my next move. Call it rent. Eva stared at the money. I can't. Yes, you can, his voice was firm. I need a place to hide.
You need to pay for treatment.
This is business, not charity. Business. Business. Eva picked up the bills, her hands shaking. $2,000. It wasn't enough for everything, but it was enough for the next treatment. Enough to buy more time. How long do you need to stay? She asked.
A week.
Maybe 2-inch. Rules, Eva said. No killing anyone in my apartment. No bringing trouble to Moretti's bakery. They're good people. And if I'm painting, you stay quiet. Dominic extended his hand.
Deal.
Eva shook it. His grip was warm, solid, real. There's a couch, she said, pointing to the worn sofa against the wall. It's lumpy, but it's clean. I've slept worse places. Eva gathered her scattered paintings, sorting the salvageable from the destroyed. Dominic helped, moving carefully, arranging the canvases with surprising gentleness. They worked in silence as the city hummed outside the windows, 2 broken people building something fragile in the ruins. Morning came too bright through the uncurtained windows. Eva woke on her mattress. Dominic had flipped it back over while she slept and smelled coffee. Real coffee, not the instant powder she'd been stretching for 3 weeks. She sat up slowly, testing her body's response. Exhausted, but functional. Better than yesterday. Dominic stood at her tiny stove, his back to her. He'd removed his ruined shirt and wore only a white undershirt, the bandage she'd applied last night visible at his ribs. His shoulders were tense, coiled like springs. You found my coffee, Eva said. He didn't startle. Hidden behind the flour. Good instinct, they missed it. I was saving it for emergencies. This qualifies. He poured 2 cups and brought one to her. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck. Eva sipped the coffee. It was perfect, strong and black. You didn't sleep. Couldn't. Dominic returned to the window, positioning himself where he could see the street below. Old habits. Eva studied him in the morning light, the weapon holstered at his hip, the careful way he held himself. the eyes that never stopped moving. How long have you been running? 4 days. And before that, I wasn't running. I was the one people ran from, he said it matter-of-factly, without pride or shame. I worked for the Marino family, second in command under Vincent Marino himself.
Worked.
Past tense. Vincent's nephew, Tony, decided he wanted my position. Arranged a meeting with the Velastri family, told them where I'd be. When I'd be vulnerable, Dominic's jaw tightened. 3 men with knives in an alley. I got lucky. That's lucky. Eva gestured at his ribs.
I'm alive.
They're not. Yes, that's lucky. Eva absorbed this information. A week ago, she would have been horrified. Now, she just felt tired. So, what's the plan? Survive. Figure out who I can still trust. Find proof that Tony set me up, he turned from the window. Then decide what to do about it. Sounds complicated. It is. And while you're doing all that, you're staying here. If you'll allow it. Eva looked around her small apartment, her sanctuary, now invaded by violence and blood money and a man who killed people in alleys. Everything had been simple once. Paint during good days. Rest during bad ones. Try not to think about the tumor growing in her breast. Now nothing was simple. I paint by the window, she said finally. The light's best there. You'll need to find somewhere else to brood. Something flickered across Dominic's face. Surprise, maybe, or relief. Understood. And if you're staying, you eat. I can't have you passing out. It'll draw attention. I'll handle the food. You're not spending that money on me. Fine, Eva stood, steadier now. But I cook. This is still my home. Fair enough. They fell into an awkward rhythm. Eva showered, washing away yesterday's fear and sweat. When she emerged, Dominic had cleaned up the worst of the mess. Broken dishes swept away, torn paintings stacked neatly, furniture righted. He'd even made toast. You didn't have to do that, Eva said. I pay my debts. She ate the toast. It was the first time in weeks she'd had breakfast 2 days in a row. Her stomach actually growled for more, a good sign. Maybe. At 10 o'clock, Eva set up her easel by the window. She'd started a new piece before everything happened. A garden scene, all roses and morning glory vines. The colors called to her now, bright and insistent. She picked up her brush. Dominic settled on the couch with a burner phone, making quiet calls in Italian. Eva didn't ask what he was saying. She didn't want to know. She painted. The hours slipped away. Her hand moved across the canvas, adding depth to the roses, highlighting the dew on the petals. This was the only time she felt whole anymore, when the art took over and the sickness receded into background noise. Why gardens? Dominic asked suddenly. Eva didn't turn from her work. Because I can't have one. Why not? Look around. Concrete and brick. No yard. No soil. She added a shadow beneath a leaf. So I paint what I can't have. Gardens.
Sunsets.
Wide open field. You're good.
I'm adequate.
No, Dominic stood, moving closer to examine the canvas. You're really good. These should be in galleries, not sold on street corners. Eva laughed softly. Galleries don't take artists without connections, without representation, without, she gestured at her bald head, without time. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. How long? 6 months, maybe. If the treatment works. If I can afford it. The 2,000 covers 1 session. I need 12 more. Eva finally looked at him. But 1 is better than none. So, thank you. He nodded slowly. Then returned to the couch, to his phone, to his world of violence and betrayal. They coexisted like that for 3 days. Eva painting by the window, Dominic nursing his wound and making his careful plans. They spoke little but learned each other's rhythms. Eva discovered he woke at 5 every morning, that he took his coffee black, that he watched the street with the intensity of a man expecting death. Dominic learned that Eva painted best in morning light, that she hummed old jazz songs without realizing it, that some days the exhaustion hit her so hard she could barely lift her brush. Neither of them called it friendship. But it wasn't nothing either. On the fourth morning, Eva found the gun on her kitchen table. Not holstered, not hidden, just lying there next to her coffee mug, black and heavy and impossible to ignore. Dominic stood at the stove, scrambling eggs. He hadn't noticed her yet. Eva stared at the weapon. She'd seen it before, of course, glimpsed it under his jacket, watched him check it at night, but always at a distance. Now it sat 18 inches from where she ate breakfast, where she sorted her pills, where she'd written her mother's last birthday card. "You left your gun out," she said. Dominic turned, spatula in hand. He looked at the table, then at her, his expression unreadable. "I was cleaning it, on my kitchen table. I didn't think you'd be up yet." Eva sat down across from the weapon. Up close, it looked even worse. Scarred metal, worn grip, the weight of its purpose radiating like heat. "Is it loaded?"
No.
The clip's on the counter. She looked. Sure enough, a black magazine sat beside the toaster. "Does it have a name?" Eva asked. Criminals in movies always name their guns. "I'm not a movie criminal." Dominic plated the eggs and brought them over, setting one in front of her. He picked up the gun with casual familiarity and tucked it back into his shoulder holster.
And no.
"It's just a tool." "A tool for what?" Dominic sat across from her. "You know what?" Eva picked up her fork. The eggs were perfect, fluffy, seasoned with pepper and something else. Oregano, maybe. "How many people have you killed?" She'd surprised him. She could see it in the way his jaw tightened, the brief pause before he answered.
You don't want to know that.
"I do, actually. Because you're living in my home, sleeping on my couch, making me breakfast." Eva met his eyes. "So, I think I deserve honesty." Dominic studied her for a long moment. "Then, 17. That I can be sure of." Eva's stomach twisted, but she kept eating. The eggs tasted like ash now. Were they all? I mean, did they all deserve it? Some did. Some were just doing their jobs. Some were in the wrong place at the wrong time. He said it without emotion, like reciting a grocery list. "I told myself they all deserved it. That's how you sleep at night in my world. But the truth? The truth is I stopped asking that question a long time ago. And now I'm asking it again." Dominic pushed his eggs around his plate. "That's why I'm here instead of at one of Vincent's safe houses. Why I'm trying to find proof instead of just putting bullets in Tony's head. Because I'm tired of not asking questions." Eva set down her fork. "Are you going to kill again?" "Probably. Here."
No.
"Never here." "Why not?" Dominic looked around the small apartment, at the paintings that turned the dingy space into something bright, at the flowers Eva had bought yesterday from the corner market, at the life she'd built from scraps and determination. "Because this is the first place I've been in 20 years that doesn't smell like blood," he said quietly. "And I'm not going to ruin it." Eva believed him. God help her, she did. "I'm dying," she said. "The cancer is eating me from the inside. Every day I wake up and wonder if this is the day I'm too weak to paint, too sick to stand, too far gone to save." She leaned forward. "So here's what I understand, Dominic. Death doesn't scare me anymore. I've made my peace with it. Then what does scare you?" "Not finishing. Leaving nothing behind. Having my life mean nothing." Eva gestured at the gun under his jacket. "If you're going to kill people, and apparently you are, then don't do it here. My paints are expensive, and I don't need blood on the walls." Dominic stared at her. Then, impossibly, he laughed, a short, sharp sound like breaking glass. "You're serious?" "Completely. You're not afraid of me." "Should I be?" "Most people are." "Most people aren't dying of cancer." Eva stood and carried her plate to the sink. "Most people have time to be afraid. I don't. So either you're going to hurt me or you're not. Either I'm going to die this year or next. Either my paintings will matter or they won't. But I can't control any of that, so I'm not going to waste energy worrying." She turned to face him. "You want to stay here?"
Fine.
"Pay the rent. Don't bring violence to my door." And please, for God's sake, stop leaving your gun on my kitchen table. Dominic rose slowly. He walked over to where she stood and extended his hand. You have a deal, Eva Martinez. She shook it. And you have a deal, Dominic Caruso. Can I ask you something? Why aren't you more curious about what I did, who I worked for, what I'm planning? Eva smiled, tired but real. Because you watched me collapse on a sidewalk and didn't walk away. Because you paid for a stranger's chemotherapy. Because you make breakfast and clean up broken glass and you're trying, really trying, to be something other than what you were. She squeezed his hand once before letting go. That's all I need to know. Dominic nodded slowly. Something shifted in his expression, relief, maybe, or recognition.
Thank you, he said.
Don't thank me yet. Eva returned to her easel. You still have to live with my terrible singing while I paint.
Eva survived verse.
We'll see about that. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, two people chose to trust each other for one more day. It was enough. The painting wasn't working. Eva stared at the canvas, her brush hovering over a half-finished sky. She'd been trying to capture a storm, dark clouds breaking apart to reveal sun, but the colors weren't speaking to each other. The grays looked muddy. The yellow felt forced. It's angry, Dominic said from the couch. Eva turned. He'd been reading a newspaper for the past hour, his third of the day. Keeping track of things, he'd said. Watching for patterns. What? The painting. It's angry. He set down the paper and walked over, studying the canvas with surprising focus. All your other work is bright, happy even, but this one feels like you're fighting with it. I'm trying something different. Why? Eva set down her brush. Because painting sunshine and gardens feels like lying. I'm sick. I'm broke. I'm living with a mobster who has 17 dead bodies in his past. Maybe my art should reflect reality. Should it? Shouldn't it? Dominic picked up one of her finished pieces, a meadow bursting with wildflowers, so vivid it almost hurt to look at. This is from 2 weeks ago. You were just as sick then, just as broke. But you painted this anyway, he set it down carefully. Why? Eva sank into the chair by her easel. The exhaustion was creeping in again. It always did around 3 o'clock, like clockwork. I don't know. I think you do. She looked at him. This dangerous man who'd somehow learned to read her in less than a week. When I paint what hurts, she said slowly, I drown in it. The pain gets bigger, takes up more space, crowds out everything else. And when you paint the bright things, I remember there's more to life than dying. Eva touched the edge of the meadow painting. My mother used to take me to a field like this in Michigan. Every summer when I was little, we'd pack sandwiches and lie in the grass and name cloud shapes. Her voice cracked. She died when I was 19. Same cancer. Different outcome. Dominic was quiet for a moment. How long did she last? 8 months after diagnosis. And you? 14 months and counting. Eva smiled bitterly. Modern medicine. Lucky me. That's not luck. That's you fighting. Fighting with paint and canvas while cells multiply in my chest. Real effective strategy. You're still here, Dominic said firmly. That counts for something. Eva wanted to argue, but a wave of fatigue crashed over her. She closed her eyes, breathing through it. When she opened them, Dominic had pulled up a chair across from her. Can I tell you something? He asked. You're confessing to murder number 18? Worse, he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I don't remember the last time I created something. Made something that wasn't destruction or pain or fear. 23 years in the family, and I've built nothing. No art. No business. No legacy except bodies and blood money. He gestured at her paintings. You're dying, and you're still making beautiful things. I'm alive, and all I've made is graves. The honesty in his voice cut through Eva's exhaustion. She looked at him, really looked, and saw something she recognized. The same quiet desperation she felt when she couldn't afford paint. The same fear that life was slipping away unused. Why'd you join the mob? She asked. My father worked for Vincent Marino's father. It was expected. You're born into it, you serve, Dominic shrugged. By the time I realized I had a choice, I'd already made too many choices that couldn't be unmade. What would you have done instead? I don't know. Something normal. Something that didn't require a gun. He stood and walked to the window, looking down at the street. My sister, before she died, she used to tell me I'd make a good teacher. History, maybe. I liked reading about wars more than fighting in them. Eva tried to picture it. Dominic Caruso in a classroom, chalk dust on his hands instead of blood. It almost worked. It's not too late, she said. He laughed, sharp and bitter. I'm 43 years old with a price on my head and 17 bodies behind me. Yes, Eva. It's too late. I'm 36 with stage 3 cancer and maybe 6 months to live. But I'm still painting. She stood, wobbly but determined, and picked up a fresh canvas. Here. What? Paint something. I can't paint. You can try. Eva pressed a brush into his hand. Pick a color. Any color. Put it on the canvas. See what happens. Dominic stared at the brush like it was a live snake. This is ridiculous. So is a hitman hiding in a cancer patient's apartment. We're past ridiculous. Eva squeezed paint onto her palette. Red, yellow, blue. Primary colors. Simple. Just try. He hesitated. Then, awkwardly, he dipped the brush in yellow and touched it to the canvas. A small circle appeared, clumsy and uncertain. There, Eva said softly. You made something. Dominic looked at the yellowed. Then he added another. And another. His movements were stiff, unpracticed, but something in his shoulders loosened. The tension that lived in his jaw softened slightly. They painted in silence, Eva at her easel working on a new piece, abandoning the storm for a sunrise instead, and Dominic at the table creating something that might have been stars or flowers or just light. Two broken people making beauty from pain. When Eva finally looked over, she saw that Dominic had painted a field of yellow dots against white canvas. Simple.
Childlike. Honest.
Wildflowers, he said quietly. Like the ones in your meadow painting. I remember fields like that too. Before everything else. Eva felt something warm bloom in her chest, not romantic, not yet, but recognition. Connection. Two souls remembering what it meant to be human. You should keep painting, she said. Maybe I will. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds. Inside, for the first moment since Dominic had arrived, the apartment felt less like a hiding place and more like a home. Rocco Velastri crushed a cigar into the crystal ashtray and studied the photographs spread across his mahogany desk. Dominic Caruso.
Alive.
Impossible, Rocco muttered, but the evidence stared back at him. Grainy surveillance photos from 3 different street cameras, all from the same evening 4 days ago. Dominic walking through the market district. Dominic catching someone, a woman. Dominic disappearing into a crowd. Tony said he was dead. Marco, his lieutenant, offered from across the desk. 3 knives, close quarters. He said there was no way. Tony's an idiot. Rocco leaned back in his leather chair. He hired street thugs to do an execution. Now Caruso's out there, wounded but breathing, and Vincent Marino's going to figure out what happened. Vincent's already asking questions. Sent his people to the safe houses. Found them empty. Of course they're empty. Dominic's too smart to go where we'd look. Rocco tapped the photograph showing Dominic catching the woman. Who's this? Marco slid a thin file across the desk. Eva Martinez. Age 36. Lives above Moretti's bakery on Franklin Street. Sells paintings at the market. No criminal record.
No family in the city, he paused. She's sick.
Cancer. Been in and out of Northwestern Memorial for treatment. Why would Caruso help some random sick woman? Maybe he didn't. Maybe she's connected to something we don't know about. Rocco studied the image. The woman looked fragile, barely standing even with Dominic supporting her. Not the type who ran in mob circles. But Caruso had risked exposure to help her, which meant she mattered somehow. Put eyes on her apartment, Rocco ordered. I want to know everyone who comes and goes. If Caruso's using her as cover, we'll smoke him out. And if he's not, if she's just some woman he helped, then we send her a message anyway. Let Caruso know we're still hunting him. Let him know nowhere's safe. Rocco relit his cigar. Vincent's getting old. Sentimental. Tony's going to take over the Marino family whether Vincent wants it or not, and when that happens, we'll have an ally instead of an enemy. But first, Caruso has to die. He's the only one who can prove Tony arranged the hit.
Marco Nadith.
I'll send Polly and Vince. Guayet Cervalens, no confrontación. For now, Rocco stood and walked to his window, overlooking the Chicago River. But if Caruso shows up there, I want him alive. Vincent needs to see the body before he believes his golden boy is really gone. 3 blocks away, in a coffee shop with greasy windows, Polly Greco and Vince DeMarco studied the building across the street. Moretti's Bakery. 2nd floor, center window. That's where she lives, Polly said, consulting his phone. Eva Martinez. Artist. Dying of cancer. Why do we care about some dying artist? Vince asked, bored. Because Rocco thinks Caruso might be using her place as a hideout. Caruso? That's stupid. Why would a guy like him hide with some nobody? Because nobody would look there. Polly watched the window. Through the glass, he could see paintings, bright, colorful canvases that caught the afternoon light. Rocco wants us to watch. If Caruso shows, we call it in. Don't engage. And if he doesn't, we wait. They've been waiting for 6 hours when they finally saw movement. The window opened, and a woman appeared, bald, thin, wearing an oversized sweater. She set a small canvas on the fire escape to dry. That's her, Polly confirmed. The woman disappeared back inside. For another hour, nothing happened. Then, just as Vince was about to suggest getting food, a figure crossed in front of the window.
Tall. Male.
Dark hair. Did you see that? Vince sat up straighter. Call it in, Polly said, already dialing Rocco's number. Dominic sensed the surveillance before he saw it. 23 years of staying alive had given him instincts sharper than most people's senses. The coffee shop across the street, 2 men positioned with clear sight lines to Eva's window, neither drinking coffee. The same sedan parked on Franklin Street for 3 days. The way conversation stopped when Eva left for the corner market. They'd found him. He stepped away from the window and pulled the curtains closed. What's wrong? Eva asked from her easel. She'd been painting a bird, a cardinal, bright red against winter branches. We have company. Eva's brush froze mid-stroke. Here. Watching the building. 2 men in the coffee shop. Probably more I haven't spotted yet. Dominic moved through the apartment, checking angles, calculating escape routes. The fire escape was too exposed. The front stairs led directly to the street. The roof access was through a locked door 2 floors up. What do we do? Eva's voice was steady, but her hand trembled slightly. Nothing yet. They're just watching. If they wanted to move, they would have already. Dominic grabbed his burner phone and made a quick call. A brief conversation in Italian, then he hung up. I'm calling in a favor. Getting us both out of here tonight. Tonight? I have treatment tomorrow. The appointment's already scheduled, already paid for. You'll miss it. I can't miss it. I've already missed 2. If I miss another. If you stay here, you won't need chemotherapy because you'll be dead. Dominic faced her. They found me, which means they know about you, which means you're not safe here anymore. Eva set down her brush carefully. This is my home. I know. These are my paintings. My mother's things. My life. I know. And you're asking me to just leave it all behind. Dominic walked to her, crouching down so they were eye level. I'm not asking.
I'm begging.
Because I got you into this, and I'll be damned if I let you die for my mistakes. Eva looked around her small apartment. The space she'd made beautiful despite everything, the sanctuary she'd built while her body betrayed her. Then she looked at Dominic, this dangerous man who'd somehow become important. Where would we go? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't think to look. For how long? Until I fix this. Eva closed her eyes, and Dominic saw her making the calculation he'd seen dying men make before. How much life is left? How much is worth fighting for? How much is worth risking? When she opened them, they were clear. "We leave at midnight," she said. "And I'm bringing my paintings." They didn't make it to midnight. At 11:15, Eva was wrapping her paintings in old bedsheets when she heard glass shatter in the stairwell. Then voices, rough, urgent, speaking in clipped Italian. Dominic's head snapped toward the door. "They're early. I thought you said they were just watching." "I was wrong." He grabbed his gun, checking the chamber with practiced efficiency. "Bathroom."
Now.
"But my paintings." "Now, Eva." The apartment door exploded inward. Two men burst through, not the watchers from the coffee shop, but professionals.
Ski mask.
Dark clothes, guns already raised. Dominic fired first. The sound was deafening in the small space. Eva screamed and dropped behind the couch as one of the men went down. The second returned fire, bullets punching through the walls, through her paintings, through everything she'd built. Dominic moved like violence made fluid. He rolled left, came up firing, and the second man crumpled. But footsteps thundered on the stairs. More coming, too many. Fire escape. Dominic hauled Eva to her feet and shoved her toward the window. She fumbled with the latch, her hands shaking too badly to grip it properly. Dominic reached past her and yanked it open just as three more men appeared in the doorway. Bullets tore through the air where Eva's head had been a second before. Dominic returned fire, covering her as she climbed through the window onto the metal grating. The night air hit her like a slap. Cold, sharp, real.
Down.
Go down. Dominic was right behind her, still firing back into the apartment. Eva's feet found the ladder. She climbed down, the rusty metal rough against her palms. Behind her, she heard more gunshots, heard Dominic grunt in pain, heard him curse in Italian. She reached the alley and looked up. Dominic was coming down fast, blood darkening his shoulder. 3 stories above, a masked figure leaned out the window, taking aim. "Run." Dominic dropped the last few feet and grabbed Eva's hand. They ran. The alley opened onto a side street. A black sedan screeched around the corner. Not theirs, not friendly. Dominic yanked Eva left, into a narrow passage between buildings. They could hear shouts behind them, engines revving, the chaos of pursuit. Eva's lungs burned. Her legs felt like water. The chemotherapy had taken so much from her: strength, stamina, the ability to do something as simple as run for her life. She stumbled. Dominic caught her, practically carrying her now. "Stay with me." "Come on, Eva, stay with me." "I can't." "You can." They burst onto a busier street, late-night pedestrians, a few open shops, witnesses. The sedan couldn't follow directly here. Dominic pulled her into a 24-hour laundromat, past startled customers, through the back room and out the service exit. Another alley. A delivery truck parked at an angle. Dominic boosted Eva up and over the truck bed, then climbed after her. They dropped into a loading dock, then into a basement storage area of a restaurant. Finally, Dominic stopped. They crouched behind industrial shelving stacked with canned goods, both gasping for air. Eva's vision swam. Black spots danced at the edges. She was going to pass out. She could feel it coming, the familiar darkness that had taken her on the sidewalk a week ago. "Breathe," Dominic whispered, his hand on her back. "Just breathe." Your shoulder. Grazed.
I'm fine. He wasn't fine.
Blood soaked his jacket, but his eyes were alert, scanning for threats, already planning the next move. Eva's hands shook uncontrollably. She looked down and saw her palms were scraped raw from the fire escape ladder. A stupid detail to focus on, but her brain latched onto it anyway. Blood on her hands. Her blood, not someone else's. "Did you?" She couldn't finish the question. Yes, Dominic's voice was flat. 2 of them. Maybe 3 inch. Eva had seen it happen. Seen Dominic move with terrifying precision, seen men fall, seen the life leave their eyes through the chaos. She should have been horrified, traumatized.
Sick.
Instead, she just felt sad. Sad for the violence that had made Dominic into this. Sad for the men who'd chosen this life. Sad for herself, for the ordinary life she'd wanted and would never have. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Dominic looked at her, surprised. "Why are you apologizing?" "Because you're bleeding to protect me. Because men died in my apartment. Because your life was already complicated and I made it worse by collapsing on that sidewalk." "Eva," he shifted to face her fully. "You didn't make anything worse. You reminded me there was something worth protecting besides territory and pride." His jaw tightened. "Those men came to kill us both. To send a message. And they failed. Where do we go now?" "Somewhere they'd never think to look." Dominic pulled out his burner phone and made a call. Low, quick conversation. Then he hung up. "A friend is bringing a car. 30 minutes. We stay quiet until then." They waited in the darkness of the storage room, listening to the muffled sounds of the restaurant above, clattering dishes, music, laughter. Normal people having normal nights while two fugitives bled in their basement. Eva leaned against the shelving, exhaustion pulling at her like an undertow. Dominic stayed alert, weapon ready. A guard dog that never slept. "Dominic?" "Yeah. Thank you. For not leaving me." He was quiet for a long moment. "I told you. I pay my debts." "This is more than a debt." "I know." The admission hung between them, fragile, honest, undefined. 28 minutes later, headlights flashed in the loading dock. A beat-up Honda Civic, nondescript and forgettable. The driver was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a don't-ask-questions expression. "Angela," Dominic said. "Vincent's old housekeeper. She's safe." They climbed into the back seat. Angela didn't speak, just drove, heading west out of the city. Eva watched Chicago disappear behind them, the skyline shrinking, the lights fading, her whole life becoming smaller in the rearview mirror. She'd left everything. Her paintings, her mother's photographs, the apartment where she'd learned to live with dying. All gone. She should have cried. Instead, she reached over and took Dominic's hand. He squeezed back. Two broken people still breathing, still fighting. Still together. The safe house was a small farmhouse 40 miles outside Chicago, surrounded by cornfields that had gone brown with winter. Angela left them at the end of a gravel driveway with a bag of groceries and a quiet warning. 2 weeks. No more. After that, you're on your own. Eva stood in the empty living room and felt the weight of everything finally crushed down on her.
No pantines. No colors.
No reason to wake up tomorrow.
"Eva?"
Dominic's voice came from somewhere distant. Her knees gave out. This time when she fell, she didn't stop shaking. Great, racking sobs tore through her chest. For her mother, for her destroyed apartment, for the life she'd tried so hard to paint into something beautiful. For the fact that she was going to die in a stranger's farmhouse instead of her own home. Dominic knelt beside her, awkward and uncertain. He didn't tell her it would be okay. Didn't offer empty comfort. He just sat with her on the dusty floor while she cried herself empty. When the tears finally stopped, Eva felt hollowed out. Lighter somehow. "I miss my treatment," she said hoarsely. "I know. I'll miss the next one too. Probably. The cancer's winning." Dominic helped her to her feet and guided her to an old couch covered with a sheet. "Let me worry about that. You can't fight cancer with a gun."
"No."
"But I can make phone calls." He pulled out his burner phone. "What's your doctor's name?" "Dr. Patel. At Northwestern Memorial. But I can't go back there." "You won't. Give me 10 minutes." He stepped outside. Through the window, Eva watched him pace the dead grass, phone pressed to his ear, his free hand gesturing sharply. The conversation was long, heated at times, punctuated by silences where Dominic listened intently. When he came back, his expression was grim but determined. There's a clinic in Aurora. 40 minutes from here. They'll take you tomorrow. No questions asked. Cash only. Dominic, I can't afford. It's handled. With what money? You gave me 2,000 already. I have more. He sat heavily in the armchair across from her. Eva, I've been taking money from the Marino family for 23 years. I didn't spend it on much. No wife, no kids, no expensive habits. It's just been sitting in accounts, waiting for something worth spending it on. He met her eyes. This is worth it. I'm not your responsibility. You became my responsibility the moment I brought you into this world. His voice was hard, final. I don't get to walk away from that. Eva wanted to argue, but exhaustion pulled at her like an anchor. Okay, she whispered. Okay. The days blurred together. Dominic drove her to the clinic in Aurora every Monday and Thursday, sitting in the parking lot during treatment, never coming inside, giving her the dignity of facing her illness alone. Eva would emerge weak and nauseous, and he'd drive her back to the farmhouse without comment. She painted on scraps of paper he bought from a dollar store. Cheap watercolors, nothing like her oils, but enough to keep her hands moving. Dominic watched sometimes, sitting at the kitchen table, cleaning his gun, or making his careful phone calls. You're planning something, Eva said one afternoon. Always. Something big. Big enough. She set down her brush. Are you going back to Chicago? Eventually. To kill Tony. Dominic's hands stilled on the gun. To get proof. To show Vincent what his nephew did. Let the family handle their own justice. And if Vincent doesn't believe you, then yes. I'll kill Tony. He said it without hesitation, without apology. But I'm trying to do this right. The way you'd want me to. Eva's chest tightened. The way I'd want. You paint gardens because you believe in beauty. You help strangers even when you're dying. You cry for the men I killed in your apartment. Dominic looked at her fully. You're good, Eva. Really good. And I'm trying. God help me, I'm trying to be something other than what I was. For you. The admission hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. I'm not good, Eva said quietly. I'm just tired of being angry. That's the same thing. They fell into silence. Outside, the November wind rattled the windows. Inside, something shifted, a connection deepening, becoming more than convenience or circumstance. 3 weeks after they arrived, Eva woke to find Dominic sitting at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. What's wrong? He looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. Vincent's dead. Heart attack. Tony's taking over the family officially tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
Vincent was a monster, but he was a monster with rules. With honor, in his own twisted way. Dominic's voice cracked slightly. Tony has neither. He'll burn everything down just to prove he can. Eva sat beside him. Without thinking, she reached out and took his hand. His fingers were cold, trembling. What happens now? I go back. I finish this. And me? Dominic turned to her, and Eva saw something raw in his expression. Fear, maybe, or something close to it. You stay here. Angela will check on you. The clinic knows to expect you. You'll be safe. Safe and alone. Alive, he corrected. That's what matters. Eva studied their joined hands, her thin fingers wrapped in his scarred ones. When had they gotten so comfortable with touch? When had his presence become necessary instead of just tolerated? Come back, she said simply. I will. Promise me. Dominic lifted her hand and pressed it to his forehead, a gesture so tender it made Eva's breath catch. I promise. They sat like that for a long time, foreheads resting together, breathing the same air, two damaged souls finding something like peace in each other's brokenness.
No kiss. No declaración.
Just quiet understanding. Sometimes that was enough. Sometimes it was everything. Dominic left before sunrise, but Eva couldn't sleep anyway. She stood at the farmhouse window watching the empty driveway, wondering if she'd ever see him again. He'd been gone 3 days when the nightmare started. Not about cancer. Not about dying. about gunfire in her apartment, about blood on her paintings, about Dominic's face as he killed men to save her life. The violence she'd witnessed had burrowed into her dreams, waiting. On the fourth night, Eva gave up on sleep entirely. She wrapped herself in a blanket and sat on the porch, watching stars she'd never been able to see in the city. The November air bit at her skin, but the cold felt honest.
Real.
She heard the car before she saw it, a familiar Honda Civic rolling up the gravel drive at 2 a.m. Dominic climbed out, moving stiffly. Even in the darkness, Eva could see fresh bruises on his face, a cut above his eyebrow that had been hastily bandaged. "You're back," she said, her voice catching. "I said I would be." He climbed the porch step slowly, favoring his left leg. "What are you doing out here?" "Couldn't sleep." "Me neither." He sat beside her on the old wooden bench, and they stared out at the fields together. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable, but heavy with unasked questions. Finally, Eva spoke. "Did you kill him?"
No.
"Why not?" "Because I found something better than revenge." Dominic pulled a USB drive from his pocket. "Security footage from the night Tony set me up. Audio recordings of him arranging the hit with Rocco. Bank records showing payments." He turned it over in his hands. "Proof. What will you do with it?" "Tomorrow, I'm sending it to every captain in the Marino family."
To the FBI.
To 3 different newspapers. He pocketed the drive. "Tony will be finished by noon. Either the family will handle him, or the feds will. Either way, he's done." "And you?" "I walk away."
Clean break.
"New life." He said it like he believed it, but Eva heard the doubt underneath. "Can you really do that? Just walk away?" Dominic was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. This is all I've known since I was 19. Violence. Territory. The family. I don't know how to be anything else." "Yes, you do." Eva pulled the blanket tighter. "You've been someone else for 3 weeks. Someone who makes breakfast and drives me to treatment and sits in parking lots reading newspapers while I get poison pumped into my veins. Someone good. That's not good. That's just basic decency. In your world, basic decency is revolutionary." Dominic laughed, bitter and tired. "You think too highly of me." "I think you don't think highly enough of yourself." Eva turned to face him. "You could have left me on that sidewalk. You could have left me when they found us. You could have gone back to Chicago and never looked back. But you didn't. Because I owe you." "Stop. Stop saying you owe me." Eva's voice sharpened. "You don't do all this because of debt. You do it because somewhere under all that violence and training, there's still someone who cares. Someone who wants to be better." "I've killed 17 people, Eva." "I know. I've broken bones and burned buildings and destroyed lives." "I know. So, why don't you hate me?" The question landed between them like a stone in still water. Eva considered it, really considered it. Why didn't she hate him? This man who brought death to her doorstep, who'd stolen her from her home, who embodied everything wrong with the world. "Because," she said slowly, "you're trying. Because you cry when you think I can't hear. Because you paint terrible yellow flowers and you make me laugh and you look at my art like it matters." She took his hand. "Because you're afraid, Dominic.
Just like me.
And that makes you human." Dominic's jaw worked. He looked away, out at the dark fields. "I'm not afraid of dying. Neither am I. Not anymore." "Then what are you afraid of?" Eva felt the words rise in her throat, the truth she'd been circling for weeks. "I'm afraid of leaving nothing beautiful behind. Of dying and having my life mean nothing. Of all the paintings I'll never finish, all the colors I'll never mix, all the light I'll never capture." Her voice broke. "I'm afraid of being forgotten." Dominic turned back to her, and his eyes were wet. "You won't be." "How can you know that?" "Because you changed me." He said it simply, like stating a fact. "I was dead inside before I met you. Going through the motions. Killing time until time killed me. And then I caught you on that sidewalk, and for the first time in 20 years, I remembered what it felt like to want to live." Eva's breath caught. "You saved my life too," Dominic continued. Not from bullets or knives. From myself. From becoming the kind of monster who doesn't even realize he's a monster anymore. He squeezed her hand. So, no matter what happens, whether you live 6 months or 60 years, you mattered.
You'll always matter.
At least to me. Tears spilled down Eva's cheeks. She leaned forward until her forehead rested against his. That same gesture from the kitchen, but different now.
Deeper.
I don't want to die, she whispered. I know. I want more time. I know. I want to paint 1,000 more paintings. I want to see spring. I want. Her voice cracked. I want to see who you become when you're not running. Dominic's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. Then fight.
Keep fighting.
Because I need to see who I become too. And I can't do that without you. They stayed like that, foreheads touching, breathing together, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and decided not to let go. The stars wheeled overhead. The night wind whispered through dead corn stalks. And somewhere in the space between fear and hope, Eva felt something shift. Not healing. Not yet. But the possibility of it. And sometimes possibility was enough to keep breathing for one more day. Dominic sent the files at dawn. Eva watched from the farmhouse kitchen as he typed emails on a laptop Angela had brought, attaching the USB drive's contents to messages destined for FBI agents, newspaper editors, and 5 different Merino family captains. Once I hit send, there's no taking it back, he said. Are you sure? He looked at her, really looked, the way he did now, like she was something precious. I'm sure. The mouse clicked. The emails whooshed into the digital void. Now what? Eva asked. Now we wait. And I make sure Tony can't run before it all comes down. Dominic closed the laptop. I need to go back to the city. 3 days, maybe 4. Tie up loose ends. Eva's stomach dropped. Loose ends. That's a nice way of saying. No, he stood and took her hands. I'm not killing anyone. I'm making sure Tony's people can't retaliate. Securing evidence. Talking to people who can testify, he paused. I'm doing this the right way. Your way. My way. Without drowning in the darkness. Eva wanted to tell him to stay. To hide here forever. To pretend the world outside didn't exist. But she could see the determination in his eyes. He needed to finish this. Needed to close the door on his old life before he could walk through a new one. Be careful, she said. Always, he kissed her forehead, a gesture that had become natural between them. Angela will stay with you. If anything feels wrong, if anyone comes around, you call this number. He pressed a card into her palm. Police detective.
Hazme a favor.
He'll get you somewhere safe. Dominic. Promise me. I promise. He left in the Honda, and Eva watched until the car disappeared. The days crawled by. Angela cooked and cleaned and asked no questions. Eva painted on her scraps of paper, trying to capture the way morning light hit the cornfields, the way shadows pooled under the porch steps. Small moments. Quiet beauty. Her phone, a burner Dominic had given her, rang once each evening. Brief calls, never more than 2 minutes.
I'm okay.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Come home. Soon. On the 3rd day, the call stopped. Eva tried not to panic. Told herself Dominic was busy, was being cautious, was fine. But by midnight, anxiety had carved a hollow space in her chest. He'll call, Angela said, appearing in the kitchen doorway. That boy's survived worse than Tony Marino. You've known him a long time? Since he was 16. Angry kid. Lost his sister, his father was a drunk, his mother worked 3 jobs, Angela poured 2 cups of tea. Vincent gave him purpose. Not good purpose, but purpose. Made him into a soldier. Do you think he can really leave? Angela studied her. For the right reason?
Yes.
The question is whether he has the right reason.
Eva knew what she was really asking.
We're not. I mean, we haven't. Doesn't matter what you are or aren't. You're his reason. Angela sipped her tea. I've never seen that boy care about anything except duty.
But he cares about you.
That's Enough to change a man. The phone finally rang at 2 in the morning. It's done. Dominic's voice was hoarse, exhausted. Tony's in FBI custody. 3 captains turned on him. Rocco Velastry's gone into hiding. Won't be a problem anymore. It's over. Eva's legs went weak with relief. Are you hurt? Bruised. Tired. But whole. A pause. I'm coming home tomorrow. Home. He'd called the farmhouse home. I'll be here, Eva whispered. Dominic arrived at noon, driving a different car, a gray sedan, anonymous and clean. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 days. Bruises darkened his jaw. His knuckles were split, but his eyes were clear. Eva met him at the door, and without thinking, without hesitation, she wrapped her arms around him. He held her like she was the only solid thing in a tilting world. It's really over? She asked into his chest. It's really over, he pulled back to look at her. The FBI has enough to put Tony away for 30 years. The family's in chaos. They'll be rebuilding for months, too busy to care about me. And Rocco's gone underground. I'm free, Eva. Actually free. What happens now? Dominic's expression shifted, vulnerable, uncertain. I don't know. I've never been free before. Never had to figure out what I actually want instead of what I'm ordered to do. What do you want? He cupped her face in his scarred hands. I want to stop running. I want to paint terrible flowers and read history books and learn how to be normal. His voice dropped. I want to stay with you. If you'll let me. Eva's heart hammered against her ribs. I'm still dying. We're all dying. You're just more honest about the timeline. I'm broke. Sick. I've lost everything. Then we'll build something new. Together, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. Their gesture, their language. I can't promise forever, but I can promise today. And tomorrow. And every day after that until there are no more days. Eva felt tears slip down her cheeks. Not sad tears. Something else. Something that felt dangerously like hope. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Stay. Build something with me. Let's see who we become when we stop being afraid. Dominic kissed her then, soft and careful, like she was made of glass. Eva kissed him back, tasting salt and relief, and the beginning of something neither of them had words for yet. When they finally pulled apart, Angela was standing in the doorway with a knowing smile. Took you long enough, she said. Now come inside. I made lunch, and you both look half dead. They followed her in, 2 people who'd survived darkness and found each other in it. The war was over. Now came the harder part, learning to live. Spring came slowly to Chicago. Eva stood in the empty storefront on Lincoln Avenue, watching Dominic measure the walls. For months had passed since the farmhouse. For months of treatment, of slow healing, of learning how to exist without looking over their shoulders. 22 feet, Dominic called out, marking the measurement in his notebook. We can fit at least 15 large canvases on this wall alone. It's too much, Eva said, not for the first time. It's not enough, he came over, wiping dust from his hands. Your work deserves a real gallery, not street corners, not dollar store paper. Eva looked around the space, high ceilings, natural light pouring through tall windows, hardwood floors that needed refinishing but had good bones. It was perfect. It was terrifying. Where did this money come from? She asked quietly. Please tell me it's not. It's clean, Dominic's voice was firm. Money I saved legally over the years. Investments Vincent helped me make before everything went bad. Not a penny of it came from anything illegal. He pulled out a bank statement. See? All documented. All legitimate. Eva studied the numbers, relief flooding through her. You're spending your entire savings on this. I'm investing in something that matters. He gestured at the space. You've been painting nonstop since we got back to the city. 37 pieces in 4 months. Beautiful pieces. They deserve to be seen. It was true. Something had unlocked in Eva after they'd left the farmhouse. Colors came easier. Ideas flowed faster. The shadow of death still hung over her. Dr. Patel had been cautiously optimistic but made no promises, but she painted through it anyway. Or maybe because of it. Martinez Gallery, Dominic said, testing the name.
Simple.
Elegant. You. What about you? Your name should be on it too. No. His tone left no room for argument. This is yours. I'm just the guy who sweeps floors and hangs paintings. Over the next 6 weeks, they transformed the empty storefront. Dominic worked with quiet intensity, painting walls a soft cream that made colors pop, installing track lighting that could be adjusted for each piece, building simple wooden frames that let the art breathe. Eva watched him work and saw someone new emerging. The tension that had lived in his shoulders was gone. He moved differently now, still careful, still alert, but without the constant expectation of violence. He wore jeans and t-shirts instead of expensive suits. He smiled more. You're good at this, Eva said one afternoon, watching him hang a painting of a sunrise over Lake Michigan. Good at what? Building instead of destroying. Dominic stepped back to check the painting's alignment. Turns out I like it better. Angela visited on opening day, 3 weeks before the actual public opening, just a soft preview for friends. Except Eva didn't have many friends anymore. Just Angela. Just Dominic. Just Dr. Patel, who'd agreed to stop by after his shift. It's beautiful, Angela said, walking through the gallery. That boy did good work. We both did, Eva corrected. The gallery held 42 paintings, everything Eva had created in the past months plus a few pieces she'd managed to salvage from her destroyed apartment. Gardens and fields. Sunrises and storms. Birds and flowers and light breaking through darkness. All of it bright. All of it hopeful. All of it defiant. Dr. Patel arrived at 6, still in his hospital coat. He studied the paintings with genuine interest, then pulled Eva aside. Your latest scans, he said quietly. The tumor's shrinking. Eva's breath caught. How much? 30%. Maybe more, he smiled, a real smile, not the careful professional one. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The treatment's working better than I'd hoped. After he left, Eva found Dominic adjusting a frame in the corner. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, pressing her face into his back. Hey, he said softly. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Her voice was muffled by his shirt. Everything's right. That's what scares me. He turned in her arms, pulling her close. You're allowed to be happy, Eva. Am I? People like us. Especially people like us. He kissed the top of her head. She'd stopped wearing the knit cap weeks ago, her hair growing back in soft, dark fuzz.
We survived.
We get to be happy now. That's how it works. I don't know how. Me neither, he pulled back to look at her. So, we'll figure out together. One day at a time. The official opening was on a Saturday in late May. Eva had expected maybe a dozen people. Instead, 40 showed up. Neighbors from her old building, customers from Moretti's bakery, other artists from the market where she used to sell her work. And buyers. Real buyers with real money. By the end of the night, she'd sold 12 paintings. Eva stood in the center of her gallery, surrounded by her work, and felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years. Pride. Not in surviving. Not in enduring. But in creating. In making something beautiful and having the world acknowledge it. Dominic worked the room with quiet efficiency, refreshing drinks, answering questions about pieces, making sales with the same strategic skill he'd once used for darker purposes. He caught her eye across the room and smiled. Not the hard smile of Dominic Caruso, mob enforcer. The soft smile of Dominic, the man who swept floors in an art gallery and was learning to be happy. That night, after everyone left, they sat on the floor of the empty gallery surrounded by red sold stickers. We did it, Eva whispered. You did it. I just helped. No, she took his hand. We did it. Together. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, 2 people who'd been broken found themselves becoming whole. 6 months later, Eva woke to find Dominic already up, standing at the window of their small apartment above the gallery. Not the farmhouse. Not her destroyed studio above Moretti's. A new place. A new start. Can't sleep? She asked. Didn't want to, he turned, and the morning light caught his face, softer now, the hard edges worn away by time and choice. I like watching you paint in your sleep. I don't paint in my sleep. Your fingers move. Like you're holding a brush. He came back to bed, settling beside her. What were you painting?
Eva thought about it. Fields.
The ones from the farmhouse. But with flowers this time. Purple and yellow. Sounds beautiful. It will be. I'll start it today. They'd fallen into this routine, mornings talking before the gallery opened, afternoons with Eva painting while Dominic handled sales and framing, evenings walking along the lakeshore or cooking dinner together. Simple. Ordinary.
Perfect.
The gallery had done better than either of them expected. Eva's work was getting attention, a mention in the Tribune, a small feature in a local art magazine, commissions from corporate buyers wanting bright pieces for their offices. She wasn't rich, but she was sustainable. More importantly, she was alive. Dr. Patel's last scan had shown the tumor reduced by 60%. Not gone. Cancer was never truly gone, but small enough, quiet enough that he was using words like remission and long-term outlook. Eva had another year of treatment ahead, maybe two, but the death sentence had been commuted to life with conditions.
She was learning to live with that.
I need to tell you something, Dominic said. Eva's stomach tightened. That sounds ominous. It's not. He took her hand. I enrolled in classes. Community college. History major. Dominic, that's wonderful. Yeah. He looked uncertain, vulnerable in a way that still surprised her. I'm 44 years old. I'll be the oldest person in every class. You'll also be the one who actually wants to be there. Eva squeezed his hand. I'm proud of you. I'm terrified. That's how you know it matters. He laughed, pulling her closer. When did you get so wise? Around the time a mobster caught me on a sidewalk and accidentally saved my life. I think you had that backwards. No, Eva said firmly. I really don't. They lay together as the sun climbed higher, neither wanting to break the quiet peace of the moment. Eventually, Eva's phone buzzed, a reminder about a meeting with a potential buyer at noon. Duty calls, she said, but didn't move. Let it call. Stay here a minute longer. So she did. That afternoon, Eva stood in front of a fresh canvas. She'd been working on a new series, Light Through Darkness, paintings that captured moments of beauty emerging from pain. This one would be the largest yet. The farmhouse at dawn, fields blooming with impossible flowers, two figures on the porch. Dominic was helping a customer in the front room, a young couple looking for something to brighten their first apartment. Eva could hear his voice through the door, patient and helpful, so different from the man who'd held a gun in her kitchen. She mixed colors on her palette, purple and gold, pink and orange, the colors of sunrise and hope.
Her phone buzzed again.
A text from Dr. Patel. Latest blood work looks excellent. See you next month. Eva smiled and picked up her brush. The gallery door chimed. More customers. Business was good. Life was good. Not perfect. Eva still had hard days when the exhaustion hit like a freight train, when the fear crept back in whispering about borrowed time. Dominic still had nightmares sometimes, waking gasping from dreams of the life he'd left behind. They were both still healing, still learning how to be people instead of survivors. But they were doing it together. Evening found them on the gallery's back step, sharing takeout Chinese food and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades Eva immediately wanted to capture. I've been thinking, Dominic said. Dangerous. He smiled. About what? Angela said. At the farmhouse. About reasons. What about it? She asked if I had a good enough reason to leave. To change, he set down his food and turned to her. You are my reason, Eva. You are my reason. Not just for leaving, but for staying. For trying. For becoming someone worth being. Eva felt her throat tighten. Dominic. Let me finish. He took both her hands. You told me once that you were afraid of leaving nothing beautiful behind. Of your life meaning nothing, his voice was steady. Sure. You saved my life. Not my body, my life. You taught me what it means to live instead of just exist. You showed me there's more to the world than violence and survival. And every day I get to spend with you is a gift I don't deserve, but I'm grateful for anyway. Tears spilled down Eva's cheeks. You saved me too. You gave me time, purpose, a reason to keep fighting. So we're even. We're even. Dominic smiled. That soft, real smile that transformed his whole face. Good. Because I was running out of ways to pay you back. Eva laughed through her tears. She leaned forward until their foreheads touched, their gesture, their promise, their language when words weren't enough. I love you, she whispered. I love you too.
No dramatic declarations.
No grand gestures. Just two tired souls who'd found each other in darkness and chosen to walk toward light together. They sat on the back step as the sky turned from gold to pink to purple. Inside the gallery, Eva's paintings glowed in the evening light. 47 pieces of beauty created from pain, hope painted onto canvas, proof that life could be more than just survival. Eva leaned her head on Dominic's shoulder. What do we do now?
Now.
He pressed a kiss to her hair. We live. We paint and study and build this life we're making. We take it one day at a time and see what happens. That's it. That's everything.
And it was. No fairy tale ending. No miracle cure.
No guarantee of forever. Just two people who'd been broken choosing to be whole together. Just a woman who painted light and a man who'd learned to see it. Just life, messy, uncertain, beautiful life, happening one ordinary, extraordinary day at a time. Eva closed her eyes and felt the warmth of the sunset on her face, the solid presence of Dominic beside her, the quiet joy of simply being alive. She'd wanted to leave something beautiful behind. She'd wanted her life to matter. Looking around at the gallery they'd built, at the man who'd changed for her, at the future stretching out uncertain but possible, she realized she already had. This was enough. This was everything. This was home.